What is up, Instagram? Wow, this is a little dark. Let me just try and change the lighting here quick. I'll be right back. There. That looks a little bit better. How's everyone doing? I hope you guys are having a good Monday night. In case you guys couldn't tell, a little bit of a scene change or location tonight. So I'm chilling kind of just off the Georgian Bay, taking a couple days just to try and plan out the next 3 month sprint. So I try and like to take a day every 3 months just to kind of map out and plan my next 3 months. So that's what I'm doing right now, is planning for that sprint. Um, Otherwise, I'm staying at an Airbnb here. No smoking inside the Airbnb, so I've already smoked outside, but it's pretty cool Airbnb if you guys want to kind of check it out. A lot of Canadian Anna, whatever you'd call it, going on. Got some pretty cool rafters up there too, and you can even see like the lights are um, on skis. And then you can see I also brought my flip chart with me. So flip chart comes just about everywhere. But yeah, this is a pretty cool Airbnb if I do say so. See right there, those are the skis that are turned into lights. A little bit more beachy type vibes going on. But anyways, that's what's going on for my Monday night. I hope you guys are having a good Monday night. Feel free to jump in that comment section and hit me up with any questions, real estate or otherwise. At the same time, right now, kind of in more of a reflective mood, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be feeling the real estate questions, but feel free to hit me up anyways, and we'll see what direction we're going to go in. Otherwise, I've been listening to Robert Wright's Why Buddhism is Right book, and really enjoying that book. I've got about an hour left on it, maybe just a little under an hour. Really, really enjoying it. And actually, right before I jumped on here, there was a piece he was talking about when he was on a meditation retreat, one of his first meditation retreats, I think. And anyways, he just got like overwhelmed with that sense of bliss, that kind of like moment where you just break down crying, just filled with joy. And in this book, I really like the fact that he dresses like in that moment and subsequently after that moment, he was like, I thought I'd like kind of found nirvana, like I'd found a way to reach this higher mental state. And for now, for the rest of my life, I'll be able to turn it on and off. And he was like, unlike most of the other books in this genre or in this niche, um, I'm not going to tell you guys that I reached this blissful state and was able to always return to it. He was like, I have occasionally on other meditation retreats, but it's not something that I can just like turn on and off. It's something that still escapes me. And it wasn't really like the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And I found that wildly refreshing because I feel like oftentimes when you read some of those books about either like psychedelic experiences or meditation, Buddhism, all that stuff. Oftentimes, like the authors kind of want to come to this nice, neat conclusion, and then they like reach a state of bliss or nirvana or whatever, and you know, maybe even in that moment in time when they wrote the book, it was true. But I think it's, at least I suspect, or maybe I'm just projecting and hoping that that's not something that's um, a state that you maintain. It's like a state that you occasionally reach or peak at. Anyways, really enjoying this book. Robert writes why why Buddhism is true. Really recommend it to anyone that's into that. But yeah, all right. Let me just catch up on some comments here, guys. Up moving. How's the new location? We're going to be moving this week, so just coincidentally, but I'm not complaining. It turned out that we're going to be moving this week, and I'm away this week, so the guys are going to be moving without me this Wednesday. Fingers crossed they don't burn down the old house or the new house. I asked them multiple times to not burn down either house, so they're unsupervised. We'll see how that turns out, but I think it'll all work out. We're not moving very far though, so it's going to be kind of a disappointing move. We went mansion hunting. It turns out some mansion owners think I'm a bad risk when it comes to renting out their mansion. It's hard for them to wrap their head around the idea of a single dude and a couple business partners and a full-time cameraman living all in the same house together. It just does not compute for them apparently. So right now we're doing a short, like not short term, but we're just renting out another similar type house in the southeast end of London instead of the southwest end of London. Just happen to be what's available. So going to be moving there, but I'm hoping to keep my eyes out for the next thing. Although I'm really starting to become obsessed with this idea of buying an island, guys. So uh, a lot of you are anti-island, so keep up the anti-island arguments because I definitely appreciate seeing those perspectives. Um, but for those of you that are like, man, it's too secluded, you won't enjoy it, you're underestimating myself and my enjoyment of being an introvert because pretty much COVID happened and my lifestyle didn't change much. So uh, I'm not sure if I'm too concerned about that, but the shitty internet is an issue. So I need to really figure out if I can solve the internet issue, but we'll see. Um, uh, Glad to hear you're coming out to the next boot camp. That sounds awesome, man. Um, what's the cut you take when working with an investor who wants to flip? Jazz Deep, I don't really do that per se. So if you're interested in like learning from me or getting my mentorship, I'd recommend jumping into Cashflow Tribe. You can go to cashflowtribe.com, sign up for a free 14-day trial, test it out, take it for a spin. But on there, you'll find almost daily live classes. So 5 days a week, we do live classes in there. There's also courses, calculators, all kinds of things. I smoked before this episode for anyone that's joining late, just because I'm at an Airbnb. Airbnb host asked me not to smoke, so I'm not smoking. But I pre-smoked. Um, but again, this is a pretty cool cottage, all things considered. So I'll accept their rules. So yeah, if you're interested in learning from me on a more one-on-one level, I recommend hitting up um, Cashflow Tribe, cashflowtribe.com. Check out our cool calculators, our PDF wizards. There's some really awesome stuff going on. Um, I'm up in Robbins Point. So if you guys know where that is, uh, you apparently know your Bruce Peninsula and Georgian Bay area very well. Um, Spiritual reflection while there. I think like in part my business and spiritual reflection are the same thing. So yeah, definitely going to be doing some spiritual reflection and really enjoyed um, listening to this Robert Wright book on Buddhism. And I'm looking forward to next. One of the next books on my list is listening to his book not zero, I think it is, which is this what my understanding is, it's a discussion of how social cooperation led to a non-zero sum for human society and all that, and then just kind of viewing through the lens of how society and the social contracts would have evolved over time because of that assumption of non-zero sum. Um, so definitely enjoying that stuff, and that definitely just kind of gets me into that reflective mental state, which I really enjoy. And I also enjoy when people smash the like button. So don't be afraid to smash the like button on YouTube, there, guys. Hey, what's up, Rob? Um, yeah, Janelle, new location. What's up, Shahir? For finding good tenants, what is the best advice you have for me? When it comes to tenants, just be very selective. So take your time. What one of the best recommendations I've heard someone give in regards to tenant selection is give very specific instructions and then make sure that tenant actually follows through on those specific instructions. So if like your instructions are step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this, step 4, send me an email, show me you did step 1 through 3. And then they send you an email and they ignore your steps, or they like disjoint the information. They don't label it properly, even though you included clear labeling instructions. Those are all great signs that the tenant may not be a good fit for you, particularly if you're really focused on trying to find the absolute best tenant. I think focusing on one that's going to be detail oriented and willing to follow instructions could be a great indicator of that. Hey, just finished my mandatory realtor course from Aurea. Do you think I should join a brokerage and start working, or wait until school's done for the year because I'm also a full-time university student? I think that's a very personal decision. At the same time, if you're focused on becoming a realtor and you just want to get in there and get success, or like become successful as fast as possible, certainly getting in there, getting started, the sooner the better, in my opinion. So if you're capable of juggling multiple activities or those different aspects of life, I would definitely encourage you to get started. Um, the love in the comments, guys. How many houses do you have mortgages on as of right now? Joshua, I have no idea. Not too many though, because I've been selling off properties, and then otherwise we're buying apartment buildings, so that's less mortgages. But really, the number of mortgages you have isn't that important, in my opinion. The only time it's really going to come up is with A lenders, right? And the number one thing that I can't stress enough to you guys that we talk about all the time in Cashflow Tribe is this concept that the A banks, and the A banks are the banks you're familiar with. That's CIBC, TD, RBC, Scotiabank, and Royal Bank. Did I say them already? Anyways, those 5 banks, um, they're designed for retail buyers. They're designed for retail investors. They're designed for retail people. And so if you're trying to grow a scalable business as an investor, just understand those A lenders aren't designed for you. So they're not going to be a good fit for you naturally. Oh, hey, also, I forgot, I got a haircut, uh, in case you guys didn't know. So shout out to Chris the barber who gave me a haircut, although it's been in my hat all day long. But guys, didn't notice that. I got a haircut. Okay. Um, what those that say 4% rule is wrong? I don't know what that means. 4% rule is in you're getting 4% of gross rents and monthly income, or sorry, yeah, 4% of the value of the property in gross rents. That would be crazy. I would think that that's a pretty aggressive market if you're able to get the 4% rule. Here in London, 2% rule, or sorry, here in southwestern Ontario, 2% rule is almost unheard of. 1% rule is considered a very good investment. Yeah, everyone dropping the Starlink references as well. I haven't really paid attention to see what sort of timeline that's on, but like that would honestly solve that problem. Condo market in Windsor. I don't know the condo market that well in Windsor. I think like any condo investment, just make sure that you really understand the condo board. So make sure you know that you or your lawyer or a real estate professional reviews the status of the condo, whether it's got adequate reserve funds, all that basic best practice stuff. And just make sure you understand where the condo fees are. And if the condo board isn't looking super solvent, understand that your condo fees are probably going to be jacked up at some point. And in general, that's a greater risk with older condo boards that maybe have deferred maintenance or large projects on the horizon. General with condos, I don't like them as much as freehold real estate simply because I've got less control, right? With a condo board, there's additional rules and regulations I have to follow versus if it's a freehold property, I'm going to have more degrees of freedom. So my preference is always to have more control and more freedom when it comes to my investments in cash. Um, Way houses and the sort of places like it, other ones like for men or women, only substance abuse, government assistance programs, living quarters. Um, yeah, Nothing against it. The one thing I'll say about if you're going to get into, halfway houses or places that provide even just room and board, um, understand that you're providing a greater service than just being a landlord. And so with that, one comes more responsibilities, but two, it's getting more and more into a niche business, in my opinion. And so a niche business can mean a great opportunity to make profits or make money, but at the same time, it's going to have more standard operating procedures. There's going to be more T's to cross, I's to dot. So just go into that eyes wide open and don't undervalue your time and don't underestimate the labor that might go into operating a property like that. And then otherwise, if you're looking at getting into one of those niche properties, whether it be like a halfway house or maybe a retirement home or something of that nature, talk to existing operators in your market and surrounding areas and really just get a feel for the nature of it, right? And understand a lot of those businesses will also have additional regulations required. So just food for thought there. I'm new to real estate investing. I'm wondering, how does someone who doesn't know a single person real estate or own anything yet grow their network? Justin, I think the key is pre-COVID, just going to a couple networking events and networking IRL. During COVID right now, the key, in my opinion, is simply get in those Facebook groups, get on Cashflow Tribe, right? If you're a Canadian, definitely join cashflowtribe.com for free. Check out the forums, just interact, just start, touching base with individuals. I think oftentimes we're overcomplicating this concept of networking. Understand that real estate investors like talking about real estate. And so as long as you're willing to talk to them about real estate, or better yet, listen to them talk about real estate, they're more than happy to ramble on and on and on about real estate. I mean, look at myself, right? I'm doing this still 4 years later, talking about real estate on the internet. So, if a self-proclaimed introvert's willing to continuously talk about real estate, I understand there's a lot of real estate investors out there. Still accepting mentees for your wholesaling team? I'm very interested. Hey, Chad, we're not actively accepting a lot of mentees anymore, but feel free to reach out to Adam Martin, or you can hit up any of my wholesale team members. And if you can impress them, maybe there's a chance you can talk your way in, but we're not aggressively looking to add the way we were in the past. So now it's very much you got to impress your way in. Guys, I've never heard of forced appreciation only applies to 5 plus. I have friends who have done it here. I just want to know how close to the 1% rule would it be? Um, Not sure I fully understand the question, but forced appreciation is really just strategic renovations, right? Finding properties that are being underutilized, they're being ineffectively used, under rented, you know, basic things like adding additional living space, converting existing living space into bedrooms, adding bathrooms, redoing the kitchens, adding dishwashers, laundry. Those are all great ways to force appreciation and be able to increase your gross rents. And again, understand that income properties are often going to be, at least in part, reflected based upon their gross rents and net income. So whenever you can increase the gross rents and net income, you inherently should be increasing the value of the property. And if the fair market value of the property is primarily dictated by like a cap rate, again, fantastic. That means that if you can increase the net operating income, you're going to be able to dramatically increase the valuation on the property. And so that's pretty much what we're constantly doing. Hey, what's up, Jordy? Hey, Matt, where do you see the market going this fall once CERB and the mortgage relief ends? Omar, right now it seems very hot in the real estate market. I suspect we're not going to see it cool down. I'm not saying that's a rational reaction to the current market status, but I think that that's what's likely to happen. Again, obviously, I've got no crystal ball, no one does. But if I had to guess, I would guess that we're going to see this hot market continue for a while, even if there's potentially a second COVID flare up. Again, I'm not saying that that's a rational market, but just based upon the way the market's reacting these days, that would be my expectation. So in regard, like I understand where you're going with your question, especially framing it with CERB and the mortgage relief programs wrapping up. I think if we see the economy lagging significantly, we're going to see the government step in with more stimulus, whether that be additional employment programs, whether that be CERB 2, whether that be some sort of UBI program they're eventually going to throw at us, I'm sure. Um, Regardless, I suspect that every government's going to try and keep the good times rolling for as long as possible. So, um, I've not bought an island yet, but I am always looking. So if you guys got any leads, I should start a program. Help Matt buy an island and get a bunch of bird dogs finding me islands. Um, Awesome. Is there any way of partnering up with you, or don't do that either? Not really these days, Jazz. Again, you could potentially partner with one of my wholesalers if you're able to impress and talk with them, and I essentially JV with them. So that's kind of a roundabout way of doing it. But I'm just not very active day to day in smaller real estate transactions. And that's goals, right? You want to constantly be leveling up, taking on new challenges. So outside of the apartment buildings that we're buying, I'm really not trying to be too actively involved with any real estate transactions. More focused on businesses, content creation, and then helping my strategic partners manage the businesses, right? Like Adam Martin, who I see is in here in the comment section. If you guys didn't know, Adam teaches every Tuesday night on Cashflow Tribe. Take for a RICO application to be processed? Not sure. Sorry, can't help you there. Is this Marijuana Monday? It is, but I'm in an Airbnb, so I smoked weed before getting on the live because the Airbnb host said no incense and no smoking. And so that felt like he was talking right to me. Hey, Matt, just finished my mandatory. You think I should join? Okay, we already did that question. People are getting clever. They just jump back and forth asking the same question now on different streams, and inherently, I always catch them on both. Hey, Matt, thanks for everything you do. Do you have any thoughts on terms of mortgages, i.e., 5-year 25 amort versus 5 30-year versus 10 25? Omar, I think really when it comes down to mortgage terms, you just need to understand what your current risk tolerance is, and what you're trying to accomplish as a real estate investor. Now, that being said, we're at historically low interest rates, so I think it's all gravy at this point in time. I could understand investors that want to lock in for an extended period of time in regards to their mortgage rates. At the same time, I can understand investors that want to keep it short term because maybe they want to refinance in a couple of years if their assumption is the property is going to be worth more. So I think that's another aspect to understand is this equity that you're going to be trying to tap in the next few years, or are you a set it and forget it sort of investor? Um, Again, I think a 10-year fixed term can, or a 10-year term can make sense if you're at the stage where you're now just maintaining or maybe even winding up your operations. Whereas if you're still in the acquisition phase, odds are you're going to want to refinance in less than 10 years, would be my assumption. And so, because of that, a 10-year term isn't going to be that ideal. Um, why is that Airbnb so Canadian? I don't know. I guess they just decided to play it up, but you should see there's maps of Canada everywhere and stuff. But I'll take it. I like it. Heard of the 16 personality, yeah, Myers-Briggs test. You and your wholesaler should do it. Yeah, Quentin, definitely enjoy Myers-Briggs. INTJ is usually what I will get on those sort of tests, or otherwise, um, I think INTF sometimes, but usually INTJ, which makes a lot of sense. I resonate with a lot of INTJs. My biggest complaint about the Myers-Briggs test is just its lack of scientificness, which isn't a word, but the lack of science behind it, I guess, would be my biggest complaint. So, what we use to uh, review employees and partners and things like that is called the PI test. Yeah, PI test. And we really enjoy getting the PI test done and reviewing the results, and you get a nice 3-page report. It feels similar to a Myers-Briggs test. It feels very similar, and like there's a lot of truisms about yourself, and you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely me. Um, Apparently, there's more science behind it than a Myers-Briggs test. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. Um, Probably just a way to get us to pay for those tests, where the Myers-Briggs test we wouldn't have to pay for. um, Comments, guys. All right, let's jump over and see what's going on YouTube. Anyone here ever flip small projects like mobile homes? Is there any real money in it, or would I be wasting my time? Justin, flipping things like mobile homes isn't very popular in Canada, but I do know a lot of Americans that do well with it. So, um, hey Matt, what are some good books you recommend reading when starting out in real estate investing? Brian, if you're brand new to real estate investing, you definitely have to read Rich Dad Poor Dad and the Cash Flow Quadrant if you haven't already by Robert Kiyosaki. If you've read those books, then I would really encourage reading The Millionaire Next Door, which isn't necessarily real estate related, but it's wealth related, and I think is a very powerful book. Um, then there's Scott Trench's Set for Life, which is very popular. Beyond that, Millionaire Fastlane, I think, is a great book. Again, it doesn't really get deep into real estate, but if you're just in that general like business, real estate, personal finance world. And then obviously Early Retirement Extreme. Again, not really a real estate book, but I think a lot of personal finance books and real estate books overlap and are complementary to each other. So I would really encourage checking out on those ones. Um, what's the update on the island? We're still looking, guys. So just one, like we're not going to buy an island. I'm not going to buy an island overnight. Like this is going to be a thing. So it's going to be several months of me island shopping. So like get comfy. Relax. We'll keep looking for an island together. Um, I plan on making a bunch of videos about it because again, I don't know the first thing about it. So like some of the properties I'm looking at, like the water lines look very close to the cottages. So I look forward to learning about what's the range of water lines, whether that's a panic, is that a motivated seller, or is that just business as usual? All that good stuff. Um, what's up, Matt? 14-year-old kid who's really into real estate. Any advice? Hey, Sebastian, that's awesome. My advice for a 14-year-old kid is just keep studying, keep learning, be a sponge. Do your best not to develop an ego and just be a fly on the wall and just listen to conversations and really think about what's being said, not just the words, but what they're really saying. Um, I honestly think that just the way I kind of grew up, I got to overhear a lot of like adult conversations and maybe had a lot less like kid conversations. And so because of that, I think I got good at just listening. I think there's a real power in being able to listen. Like some people can hear other people talking and it's just noise, and then others are able to listen and really learn and gain perspective and counsel and wisdom from all that. And then beyond that, if you can find a local mentor, I would try and find a local mentor, start building a relationship there, start going to local networking events when they start up again after COVID. Because, if you're under the age of 21, if you're under the age of 25, everyone at your local real estate investor group, they're all going to treat you fantastically, right? Because one, they all wish that their kids were as into real estate as you are. And two, a lot of them remember being your age or like being younger and being intimidated by the thought of going to a real estate networking event. And so, again, they'll go out of their way to try and welcome you or make you feel comfortable. So I just really encourage you just get out there, get networking, and then otherwise, be patient at the same time. 14 years old, like you're already so far ahead of the curve. The key is just keep compounding by stacking small wins. Uh, you have roughly right now, Dave, it's maybe like around 150. Um, I've got, yeah, maybe 200, but I'm in the process of selling off. So by the time I'm done selling off, it should get back to about 100. So, yeah, we bought a lot of apartment buildings in the last year. Now I'm trying to sell off all my small buildings. Every Monday night, Justin. So you can always check that out. Yeah, the cottage doesn't have the best internet here, guys. So it is what it is. I apologize. What do you think of investing for a property to do Airbnb? I think Airbnb can be a great investment strategy. The one thing I will caution you, unless you're in a very touristy uh, area already that is favorable to short-term rentals, I think most investors are best served to buy a rental property on the basis of it being a rental property. And then if you can make more money from Airbnb, let that be the icing or the gravy rather than being the only way that you can make money by buying that property. So like this property I'm at is perfect for short-term rentals right now because like literally the water is across the road from me. There's like uh, a boat launch right in front as well and stuff like that. There's a little marina down the road, and this is all like touristy cottage country. So this makes sense because even if Airbnb was to be outlawed, there's always been rental properties in this regards. Um, who here has a rental nicer than their own crib? Um, Pretty much always the house that I almost always have nicer apartments that I rent out than where I live up until I started becoming a renter myself. But whenever I was house hacking, my house hack house was always the roughest house of all the houses I owned. Um, Opinions on Fari? Like I don't know enough about his background. I know that Londoners often have very heated opinions in regards to Fari. Um, it would appear from an outsider looking in that he's built up a large, successful real estate firm, and so naturally, I find that motivating. Um, Again, I don't know a lot of his personal backstory. I've heard lots of rumors and conjecture, but that's not necessarily valuable. So I'd have to learn a lot more. You bought? No, I still haven't bought the island. All right, I think it caught up there. Holy, lots going on. With the wholesalers, just hit them up on IG, guys, if you haven't checked them out yet. How big of an island? I'm open to suggestions, but like ideally at least an acre. But anywhere from like kind of the 1 to 5 acre range. Not that I would rule out a bigger island, but just for the price point and areas I'm looking at, usually you're looking at just under an acre to kind of 5 acres is the standard if you're getting the island for yourself. A century-old home with partial knob and tube electrical be a big no-no? Would property insurance be way too high? Omar, usually what you're going to find these days with knob and tube, outside of a few local farm mutual insurance companies, most won't let you do knob and tube. So what they'll do is they'll let you buy it, but then they'll make you sign something saying that you'll replace the knob and tube within X number of days. Oftentimes that's going to be like 30 days to 3 months is what I normally hear about. Um, so just be aware of that. But again, knob and tube, well, that's going to be intimidating to some people. For others, it's going to be an opportunity, right? Because a lot of people will choose not to buy knob and tube. Um, Again, you know, for us, if it's a gut job, anyways, we're often going to be rerunning the electrical. So whether it's like relatively new electrical or old electrical, it's not a big deal once we get into fully gutting the house, anyways. So if you're heading that direction already with the property, knob and tube's not a big deal. But yeah, otherwise, most insurance companies around here won't let you have knob and tube unless it's 10% or less of the total electrical. Um, When wholesaling, what should you do if the seller doesn't have a lawyer? You should tell them to get a lawyer. Essentially, what you could do is, either have your lawyer recommend a lawyer to them or just find other lawyers. But there's lots of real estate lawyers, so it shouldn't be a big issue. Um, yeah, Rob saying we need island big enough for all of council to hang out on. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a perfect island. Um, how can I tell if a bird candidate is going to be a nightmare to renovate? Um, as far as like, how can you tell if a property is going to be a nightmare to renovate? First things first, is it already like a handyman special? has the existing owner done a bunch of like subpar renovations? If you go down into the basement, look at the panel. And if all the wires are like neatly stapled and nice and clean, usually that's, a good indicator. If it looks like a gong show, if you go into the unfinished basement and there's just wires dangling from the ceilings, um, that's all bad signs, right? Uh, what else would be a sign that it's going to be a nightmare to renovate? Um, if you can tell that it's got any asbestos shit, that's going to be a nightmare to renovate. Um, yeah. Otherwise, like, just don't overlook the obvious. Like, uh, a couple weeks ago, Jeff and I were going to go look at a investment property. I was thinking about buying like a light industrial commercial office building just to have a proper office because I feel like my wholesalers are too lazy when I let them work from home. So I was like, should I buy an office and literally just make them sit there 9 to 5 so that they work harder? And anyways, we were walking through this office building, and it had poured rain the day before. And we go into the basement, and the basement's supposed to be all nice storage, and it's even rented out as storage. And it's just like water everywhere. And Jeff and I are walking through it, and like the listing agent's also walking us through the property. And like I look at her, and she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, we get into the furnace room, and it's obvious that one of the AC units is blocked up as well. And so it started leaking water from there. So, like, there's even more water leaking into the basement. I'm like, oh, well, at least here's some of the water. And then she, like, pivoted and was like, oh, yeah, that's what all the water's from. I'm like, no, no, you don't get this much water from just a leaky AC unit, but you can get some water from a leaky AC unit. So I think the real key is just, um, just think through things logically and rationally when we're talking about renovations. So, yeah, Hungarian experiment's really good at doing math. He's saying that there's 50 plus people watching this and only 16 have smashed the like button. I mean, WTF. How can I buy small property? Hit up one of my wholesalers if you want to buy a property. A good tenant where you need to move him out in order for you to live in his unit. Al, well, one, you can do cash for keys where you offer to maybe pay for their moving costs. Maybe you pay for their first and last month's rent at their next property. Um, Otherwise, can you offer up a different unit you have for rent? Or can you find them an alternative unit with another landlord you know? Oftentimes, with good tenants, that's one of the first things I do is reach out to other landlords I know because, again, good landlords are always looking for good tenants. So don't underestimate your network's desire to be able to rent out uh, to a good tenant you already have if you're looking to move into the unit. Mortgage insurance and title insurance, are they must or more personal risk tolerance thing? Um, in Canada, you're going to be getting title insurance 99% of the time. So it just is. Your lawyer will put it through. I can't imagine why you'd ever not want title insurance. And if you're going to get a mortgage, they're going to insist on title insurance. So unless you're buying it in cash, it's a necessity. And if I was buying in cash, I personally would pay for the title insurance. I would never want to buy a property without title insurance. But maybe just big title insurance has got to me. I've drank all their Kool-Aid. Um, Mortgage insurance. Now, are we talking about like CMHC, as in you're getting mortgage insurance because you're getting a non-conventional mortgage and you're putting less than 20% down? Again, in that case, it is what it is. You're going to be forced to get it. If you're talking about getting like insurance on your mortgage payments, as in like when you get a mortgage with RBC or CIBC and they try and push mortgage insurance on you, as in like get insured in case you get sick or lose your job and we'll pay your mortgage payments. My number one argument for you guys, my two biggest arguments for you guys would be one, really thoroughly read through that paperwork, and I think you'll find that it's not that good of a investment or that good of an option. And oftentimes there'll be other insurance products if you want them that'll be better for you than getting insurance on your mortgage. And then The second is understand that's one of the highest profit center products for banks. So there's a reason banks push so hard. And it may not be true today, but certainly in the past, a lot of bonuses for bank employees were often based upon the high profit margin products they pushed. And mortgage insurance was often one of the first ones here in Canada that they were focused on. So, like I can remember some of the mortgage professionals. Now it sounds funny when I use that word, but some of the bank employees that I used to do deals with or work with, and they would literally make me sign up for mortgage insurance and then cancel a month later because it still helped their bonuses for the month. And yeah, so depends on what we're talking about there, Omar. Yeah, and you guys can always hit up Rebecca, who's in the comments, if you want to be buying any deals off of us. Um, Rebecca is now our disposition specialist on the wholesale team, so she will be selling you all the deals. The tenants start paying the hydro bill, even if it would be more than a 2% increase to their rent. Trigs, you cannot do that unless they just randomly want to do it. But even then, if down the road they change their mind, and landlord tenant board would likely side on their side if they were to say that you forced them, or if you exerted force, or they were under duress or distress. Um, yeah. The only real way that you can increase a tenant's rent beyond that 2%, unless you're going to apply to the LTB for it, is if you offer them new amenities or a new unit, right? So if you're going to change the underlying fundamentals of the uh, lease agreement, then that might be an option. But again, I wouldn't make a primary business model. Only 2T. I don't know what 2T is. In the comments, guys. Feel like I'm kind of caught up. I know there's a bunch I missed way earlier, but those are so far back that they're gone now that it doesn't really count. Yeah, we get the occasional deal in Windsor. I think Mike Nowicki either had or just sold a fourplex in Windsor that seemed like a reasonable deal. Have you ever been sued by a tenant? No. This is Canada, bro. You don't get sued. Like, uh, me and a couple buddies have talked and joked about, like, the moment someone's like, I'm gonna sue you, is the moment I understand that they don't actually understand how the law works, because like it's gonna be expensive to sue me. um like, you're gonna always try and settle first and just be like, hey, let's talk through this like adults and just see if we can solve this. So really not a big concern in Canada. I really like Canada, guys. It's actually a really fucking awesome country to live in if you weren't aware. um, and that's not just because I'm in the most Canadian Airbnb of all time. That's just my general stance on Canada. What's the most important thing to know about commercial property? Um, Something that's the most important thing to know about commercial property. Yeah, know your fundamentals just like anything else. It's going to cost you a lot more in due diligence when you're first getting started in commercial real estate versus residential real estate. So for us, our due diligence often can cost 20, 30, 40 grand just in due diligence before you're even committed to buying the property. Are you still investing in Brantford? We're still looking in Brantford, and we've got deals in Brantford. So Rebecca's got a few deals to sell to you right now, Julian, if you're looking to buy in Brantford. Otherwise, I think Brantford's interesting. It's getting pricey there, right? So you gotta like find the deals, snipe the right deals. Um, but there definitely is opportunities. I think Brantford overall is really well positioned, right, from a population growth and just a general position in Canada. It's right on the doorstep of the GTHA, which, if you guys didn't know, that stands for the Greater Toronto Hamilton Area, and it's smack dab right in between Pearson Airport and the Hamilton Airport, which are two of the major international airports in that area. And Hamilton Airport's going through major expansion. Brantford, right, if you look at Stats Canada's data, right now it's got a metro population of 100,000 people, but it's projected out through 2040 that it'll have a population of 160,000. That's a 60% population increase over 20 years, right? And I think we're going to see such a boom in Brantford just as it grows into more and more of a bedroom community for the Hamilton, Oakville, Burlington region. Um, yeah, I'm very bullish on Brantford. I like it. Real estate outside of Canada. All my eggs are in the Canadian basket. Are rents going down in your area? They are not. Which country are you from? Nick, I'm curious how you just found me if you don't even know what country I'm from, but I'm from Canada. It's right there. Um, and I, as a real estate investor, if you're looking to grow your portfolio, leverage or debt is always going to be your friend, right? So while you're still in the acquisition phase, you're going to want to have mortgages and debt on your side. Outside of maybe extremely unusual circumstances, debt will always be your friend on the growth side of things. Yeah. After autos, definitely areas of the US and even pockets of Canada suffer a lot more from boom bust real estate cycles and even rental cycles. And so they're going to see rents go up a lot faster and potentially go down faster. Here in London, Ontario, uh, well, not that I'm here right now, but that's where I live and where all my real estate is. In southwestern Ontario and Canada, we're not seeing dramatic changes in rent prices. It's maybe like starting to plateau, but we were on a major upswing pre-COVID. And so, if anything, now it's just starting to taper off or level off. But recently, we just rented out a two-bedroom apartment in one of our newer buildings that originally I had projected that we'd rent out for 1350, and we just rented out for 1700 furnished. Now it is furnished, but I would still say, you know, even furnishing it, like that's definitely a higher rent than we would have expected. If you factored out the furnishing, maybe that's like renting out for 1450 or 1500, rather than the 17 with furniture. But yeah, Sudbury or North Bay, I don't know either of those well enough. So I can't really speak intelligently, Jack. What I would really focus on if I was looking at a real estate market, any real estate market for that matter, but particularly real estate market in Northern Ontario, is I want to look at vacancy rates. So what are the vacancy rates of apartments there? What is the average income? What's the employment rate, right, or the unemployment rate? Is there multiple industries or is there one primary industry? And again, what I'm going to dictate based upon that is like as a percentage of the overall employment picture, as well. Is it a regional center for hospitals and schools? And does it have a lot of government employment? Because that can be also nice just from kind of a employment smoothing perspective if it's a governmental hub, whether provincial or federal. So I've got personal biases in that regards when looking at those sort of markets. And then I'd be looking at long-term Stats Canada projections on population growth trends, right? Is it growing? And also, like, are immigrants moving to this area, right? Like, is the net migration positive? But as well, are we starting to see immigrants? Because it appears, right, realistically, that more and more, well, at least in a pre-COVID world, that more and more of Canada's population growth was likely to come from immigration rather than just population growth. And so, again, if I'm looking out into the future, I'd want to really be focused on, not just is a city growing, but also is it growing based upon immigrants, because that's going to help be a prime indicator of at least my personal perception of whether that city or market is likely to continue to grow in the future. That Canada, not the US, because I'm in Canada, and also for a multitude of reasons. Like, I could maybe someday I should just make a series of videos on why Canada is awesome, but there's a multitude of reasons, right? We only share one land border with the US, which takes its land borders pretty seriously. We also like we get all the benefits of being like Americans with like none of the downsides. Also, tons of natural resources, very well positioned, a stable currency overall, lots of foreign investment already established and likely to continue in the near future. Again, I know lots of Canadians get hot and bothered on the subject matter. Whether you like it or don't like it, it is. And so inherently, that's going to impact the real estate market here. So, again, it's important to understand sometimes when I'm talking about things, like, well, most of the time when I'm talking about things, I'm talking from a very unemotional, rational, logical perspective, right? Where I'm just kind of laying out the facts as I currently interpret them or am aware of them. Why don't I do more Airbnb? I feel like we do a lot of Airbnb. I'm probably one of the bigger Airbnb people, I think. So we still got like, I honestly don't know off the top, but I probably still have at least a dozen Airbnb units between my different businesses. So I would say that's still a pretty good amount. That's still like, I don't know, just under 10% of my units are on Airbnb. I feel like that's pretty balanced portfolio, actually. Not that that's on purpose that it's that balanced, but yeah. Keep deal destruction going. Awesome. Appreciate the love. Yeah, John, you absolutely can own 10 properties at age 30, even if you're 23 and have no credit. I think the biggest thing is um, just understanding that you're going to need to put a very clear plan in place, but also understand that as you grow and learn as a real estate investor, you're going to come to the realization that owning 10 properties is really just an arbitrary goal. And what you're going to need to do is really develop a well, one, you're going to want to explore your why, right? So do Dean Graziosi's 7 levels why deep exercise that he got from Joe Stump. Then once you've done that, like once you found an emotional nerve or core, take that and tether that to a SMART goal and look up SMART goals if you're unfamiliar with that. And then understand the SMART goals is what's going to dictate what real estate strategy is best for you. And from what real estate strategy is best for you is going to dictate what real estate market to invest in. If you go about approaching your real estate strategy or your real estate investing through that kind of investment thesis I just laid out, you're going to be extremely well positioned to crush it. Um, so if you looking to get started, hit us up at Cashflow Tribe. You can join for a free 14-day trial. Check us out. You guys can always cancel on the 13th day. No harm, no foul. You won't hurt my feelings. But check out our free calculator because I spent a lot of time working on that calculator. So if you hate that calculator, that actually would cut me. So don't hate on the calculator. Do you think Canada will have rental moratorium like the U.S.? Do we not already, Nick? We legally can't evict people, so I would argue that we've been there a lot longer than the U.S. But it's a lot fuzzier. So uh, again, rules are fluid right now. You just gotta roll with the punches as they come. What's the best city to invest in for apartment buildings in Canada? I'm gonna say London, Ontario, because I'm a homer. Um, Yeah, I think it really depends, Mohammed, on what you're looking to invest in, right? And what your investment goals are. So for me, it's going to be primarily cash flow with forced appreciation potential and then just a little bit of natural appreciation sprinkled on top. Other investors will have very different investment criterias. So really just depends upon what you're trying to accomplish. All right, guys. I feel like I'm losing a little bit of steam here, but I really appreciate everyone hanging out with me on Monday night. Hope you guys enjoyed checking out the cool Airbnb with the crazy ass ski lights. And yeah, smash that like button if you guys haven't already done so. Hit subscribe if you're new to my channel. Jump in the comment section. Let us know what videos you would like to see me and the team shoot in the future. And Otherwise, I'm going to take the next couple of days kind of light and do a lot of drugs. And I'll see you on the other side. Thanks, guys.